50 years from now, America will not just be a Christian nation, it will be unmistakably Catholic. This might seem improbable, even radical, but when you examine the deeper currents of history, theology, and culture, the outcome is undeniable. Most people overlook the signs, yet they are woven into the very fabric of our time. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. But before I unpack these profound truths, let me tell you a story that will change the way you see everything. The rise and fall of power. A lesson from Rome's past. Most people are familiar with Julius Caesar, his rise to power, his role as Rome's emergency dictator, and his ultimate refusal to relinquish control, which led to his assassination. His name has become synonymous with ambition, dominance, and the perils of unchecked authority. However, what many do not realize is that Caesar was not the first to hold such power, nor was he the first to be tested by it. The Romans, in their wisdom, had established a law permitting the appointment of a dictator during times of war. This leader would have absolute authority, but only for 6 months. Why? Because the Romans understood something profound. In moments of crisis, swift and decisive leadership is essential. Battles are not won by committee, they are won by a commander who acts with purpose. And here is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Nearly 4 centuries before Caesar, there was another man, a simple farmer, a man of virtue, and yet a man called to rule. His name was Cincinnatus. Unlike Caesar, who clung to power, Cincinnatus embodied the ideal of servant leadership. He was not a man consumed by ambition, but one defined by duty. Called from his farm to save Rome in a time of peril, he took on the role of dictator, led Rome to victory, and, astonishingly, stepped down the moment his task was complete. He returned to his plough, to the quiet life he cherished, content that he had served his people. What does this tell us? It reveals something essential about leadership, power, and ultimately, the nature of human virtue. The biblical narrative is filled with kings and rulers, some righteous and some corrupt. David, a shepherd king, sought God's will, while Saul, in his pride, fell. Jesus himself, the King of Kings, did not seize power but humbled himself, taking the form of a servant. Cincinnatus, though a pagan, reflected the kind of virtue that Scripture exalts, the leader who serves, not the one who grasps. Caesar, on the other hand, followed the path of many before him, the path of self-exaltation, of power pursued for its own sake. And like those rulers of old, his downfall was inevitable. This is the great lesson of history and indeed of faith. Power is a gift, but it is also a test. True authority is not found in conquest, but in humility. And in the end, it is not the Caesars of the world who endure, but those who, like Cincinnatus, recognize that leadership is a calling, not a possession. When the Romans went to war, they knew victory depended on strong, centralized leadership. A divided command meant disaster. So when crisis struck, they had a solution: Cincinnatus. He was given absolute authority, ruled for only 16 days, crushed the enemy, and then returned to his farm. His leadership wasn't about personal ambition, but about preserving unity and securing victory. Now, why am I telling you this? Because I believe there's a fundamental mistake that nearly every Protestant church in America is making, a mistake the Catholic Church has never made. That mistake, thinking that democracy is a viable strategy in the midst of spiritual warfare. War demands a general. A battle cannot be won by committees or by popular vote. When an army lacks clear leadership, it is outmaneuvered and defeated. The Romans understood this. That's why they instituted the 6-month dictator law. And this principle isn't just about military strategy, it's about survival in times of crisis. Now let's apply this to the church. History has shown us that the church is no stranger to battle, persecution, heresies, political upheaval. The question is, who has the infrastructure to endure these battles and emerge victorious? Only the Catholic Church. I'm not just talking about physical wars, I'm talking about the war for souls, the battle against cultural relativism, against doctrinal confusion, against forces that seek to divide and dismantle Christ's Church. The Catholic Church stands firm because it has what no Protestant denomination has: apostolic authority, a visible head, a divinely instituted chain of command. Protestant denominations may share common beliefs, but when the battle comes, who do they rally behind? They lack a commander-in-chief. They lack a Julius Caesar who can lead them to victory. They lack a Cincinnatus who can step in, unify, and defend the flock. But the Catholic Church? It has exactly what Christ intended. Jesus didn't leave his church to be governed by popular vote. He established Peter as the rock, Matthew 16:18, the shepherd who would guide the flock. He gave the apostles his authority, and that authority continues today through apostolic succession. This is why, no matter how fierce the battle, the Catholic Church will always stand. It is built upon the foundation of Christ, with a structure designed to withstand every storm. It doesn't waver with the tides of culture. It doesn't collapse under pressure. It endures because it was divinely instituted to do so. So the question is, when the battle comes, and it will come, where will you stand? Will you be part of an army that is scattered, leaderless, and vulnerable? Or will you stand with the one, holy, Catholic, and apostolic Church, the only church with the structure, the authority, and the divine foundation to prevail? Now say whatever you will about the Pope, but consider this. In a world of fragmentation, he stands as a unifying figure. Unlike Protestantism, which is divided into countless independent factions, the Catholic Church has a divinely ordained structure, one that Christ himself established. When spiritual battles arise, we are not scattered militias. We are an army under a single head, the Vicar of Christ. This is no accident. From the earliest days of the Church, Christ gave Peter the keys to the kingdom, Matthew 16:18-19. He established a visible, enduring authority, one that has persisted through 2 millennia of persecution, heresy, and political upheaval. This is not just organizational efficiency, this is divine providence at work. But while the unity of the Catholic Church is powerful, there is an even deeper reality to consider. Let me illustrate this with a story. My grandmother, perhaps like yours, grew up in an era without computers, cell phones, or artificial intelligence. If she were alive today, she would be in her 90s. That means that in a single lifetime, she would have witnessed the most rapid period of technological and cultural change in human history. We have been conditioned to believe that change is always progress, that innovation is always good, and that we must modernize everything, even religion, even morality. But here's the problem. While technology and politics evolve, human nature does not. Neither does God. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. The world has fallen into the trap of believing that new is always better, that tradition is outdated. But we are beginning to see the cracks in that assumption. More and more people are returning to their spiritual roots, seeking something enduring, something stable, and this is where Catholicism stands apart. From the year 33 AD to today, the Church has remained steadfast in her teachings on faith and morals. This is not human stubbornness, it is divine faithfulness. Protestantism, by contrast, has transformed over the centuries. What Martin Luther and John Calvin believed about Mary is almost unrecognizable to modern Protestants. Protestant doctrine is not merely reinterpreted, it has been revolutionized. The Catholic Church, however, is a rock, Matthew 16:18. It has withstood every cultural storm, every empire, every ideological wave. And in an age of restless change, people are beginning to realize that what they truly long for is something that does not change, something firm, something true. This is why so many are being drawn back to Catholicism, because while the world races forward into uncertainty, the Church remains, standing as a beacon of eternal truth, unwavering, unshaken, and ever faithful to the promises of Christ. The inevitable Catholic future, hidden growth, unfolding. Many look at the data and conclude that the Catholic Church is shrinking, but this is a misreading of the deeper reality. The Church is not dying, it is being reborn in a way that few are recognizing. Across the country, Latin Mass communities are overflowing with young families, and this phenomenon is not just anecdotal, it is a sign of an unstoppable demographic shift. Every Sunday, my wife and I attend the Latin Mass, and we experience this reality firsthand. The cry room, where we must sit with our children, is so packed with young families that it often makes the Mass difficult to enjoy in a prayerful way. And yet this problem is a testament to something extraordinary, a rising generation of faithful Catholics who are committed to their faith, their families, and the future of the Church. While mainstream statistics may suggest that the Church is declining, they fail to capture the vibrant youthful resurgence happening at the heart of Catholic communities. The Church's unwavering teaching on marriage and the sanctity of life naturally leads to strong, growing families. This means that while nominal or cultural Catholicism may be fading, authentic, practicing Catholicism is thriving. Fast forward 50 years, and what do we see? Those children filling the cry rooms today will be the leaders, priests, and parents of tomorrow. They will be raising families of their own, further multiplying this exponential growth. This is the Church's hidden strength, a deep-rooted faith that endures not just in doctrine, but in the lived reality of countless growing families. The perception of decline is an illusion. The reality is renewal. The Church is not merely surviving, it is preparing for an extraordinary resurgence. A remarkable renewal is unfolding within the Catholic Church, particularly among young believers. This generation is not only rediscovering the Church's timeless truths, but is ablaze with faith. And this fire will spread. If current trends continue, Catholicism in America will be thriving beyond imagination in 50 years. I see it firsthand. My RCIA classes in Phoenix, Arizona are overflowing every year, and the demand only grows. And this is not just a local phenomenon. Across the nation, parishes are scrambling to accommodate the sheer number of new believers. They are expanding their programs, yet the influx of converts keeps outpacing their efforts. The harvest is abundant, and the Holy Spirit is moving powerfully in our time. The Church is alive. This is not a coincidence. It is divine providence at work. The truth is this: the future of the Catholic Church is radiant with hope. The Holy Spirit is moving with power, stirring hearts and drawing tens of thousands, perhaps even millions, into the fullness of faith. We are witnessing a movement of grace that I believe will transform this nation. 50 years from now, I am convinced that this country will be deeply, profoundly Catholic. Consider this. A few years ago, I attended the funeral of a remarkable woman, a woman of deep faith, a pillar of Catholic devotion. In the first few rows of the church sat her children, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. There were over 100 souls in that church whose very lives, both natural and supernatural, traced back to her faithfulness. Does this sound familiar? It should. This is precisely how the early church grew. It wasn't through grand institutions or political maneuvering, but through the quiet, relentless witness of faithful families. This is the power of a life lived in grace. I saw it again at my own grandmother's funeral. As I looked around the room, I counted nearly 80 people, souls who had not only inherited life itself from her, but had also received the gift of supernatural life through her witness. This is the essence of Catholic evangelization, the faith passed down from generation to generation like a torch that will not be extinguished. And here's the incredible truth. We are on the cusp of something extraordinary. Over the next 50 years, if we remain faithful, if we raise holy families, if we teach our children the faith, if we live the gospel with conviction, then the church will not only endure but will flourish. The Spirit is moving, the gospel is advancing, and the future belongs to Christ. 50 years from now, I pray that the church will be overflowing with countless souls whose faith has been set aflame. My deepest hope is that my children will be among them, boldly living out the gospel and drawing others closer to Christ. Imagine a world where millions are fervent in their Catholic faith, embracing the beauty of the church and proclaiming the truth with conviction. If this message has touched your heart and you feel called to support this mission, I invite you to do so through Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description. Your generosity not only sustains my family, but also enables me to continue spreading the gospel through this platform. And if you want to be part of this journey of faith, subscribe to Compatibility World and join our growing community of believers who seek truth, wisdom, and a deeper relationship with Christ. Together we can strengthen our faith and share the good news with the world. Thank you for your kindness, and may the Lord bless you abundantly for your generosity.